Archie Slaymaker International Boxing News. I'm joined by Jamie Conlan. Jamie, how are you today?
All good, Archie. How's things?
Yeah, all good. All the better for talking to you. We'll jump straight into it. Michael Conlan, Jordan Gill, December the 2nd in Belfast. It's the rebuild stage. I just want to jump straight into it. Why was Jordan Gill the perfect match for your brother Michael?
I think he's a fantastic match because he's a really good fighter. Great boxing brain, great shot selection, former European champion, and has mixed it at world level with the likes of Kiko. So he ticks a lot of boxes in terms of a test and what he's going to test Michael mentally and physically, but also ticks a lot of boxes commercially because he's well known within the UK scene, within the European scene, and it is a good kind of starting point to come back to that is going to motivate you and galvanize Michael to push him on to a big fight. So it's a great fight. Stylistically, it's a good matchup. I know Jordan is kind of in his own kind of rebuild after leaving Dave Colwell and after the fight with Kiko, where he was stabbed pretty hard in a hard fight. So he's also probably in the same, back against the wall, having to make a point and make a statement, and his career is on the line. So it's what makes it more exciting and intriguing. It's a real crossroads fight. It's a fight that I think can go a lot of different ways. It can play out a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of different styles that Michael can showcase against Jordan, and they have history from sparring. So there's a lot of kind of factors into this fight that makes it a risky but also a relevant fight for Michael.
It is a massive fight, obviously part of the rebuild process coming from the loss from Lopez. One thing that did happen after that loss was Pedro Diaz came into the training camp.
Mm.
Why was Pedro the right choice of trainer?
He ticked all the boxes. He was exactly what was needed at exactly the right time. Um, Back to what kind of Michael does right, and it it mirrors what Pedro wants in a fighter, and it's just something that I think will bring the best out of Michael. It's fantastic range of movement, that natural Cuban style where the way they punch and they move and they throw the combinations together and they're in fighting and they're out fighting and the ability to box and fight and Hardy love a switch hitting puncher. So yeah, he ticks a lot of boxes, and plus his hands-on approach. He's very meticulous in his approach. He game plans a lot. He studies a lot. He identifies weaknesses. He highlights weaknesses. He highlights pros in the opponent. He highlights pros in yourself, and then he works on them meticulously. So he is a very, very fine tuning coach and a very hands on, and like, he really goes into the finer detail. I think that's what was needed, and a coach that is kind of in the trenches with you. He's on the runs, he's on the track, he's at the S&C, he's at the sparring, he's at everything. He doesn't miss out on a single session, and that was kind of what was needed for Mako. Um, and again, the way the training, and he periodizes his training and plans his training was just what was needed, because if you set Mako to train, he'll train hardest and could be overtrained a few times, and you just never know. But this guy, he does the CKs, he tests a lot, he monitors the recovery levels. He identifies different areas that needs to be, was overlooked probably in the past. So yeah, it's been a perfect match, and I'm really excited to see the partnership and the marriage, the boxing marriage, kind of on display now on December 2nd. I think with Pedro at the helm, they'll want to work on different things. I know he has a game plan. He has a game plan A, B, and C for this kind of fight, and he envisions how it goes, and it kind of everyone is on the same page for what way the fight is going to play out.
I know it was obviously a joint decision by yourself and Michael. Was it a hard decision, in your opinion, to leave Adam Booth after that defeat?
Yeah, I think it's always a hard decision for a boxer to leave a coach because of the relationship. A boxer coach relationship is supposed to be personal, as well as a business relationship. But the time you spend together is always going to make things personal. So you develop more than a business relationship. You develop a friendship, and as a family, we're all pretty close knit. So we all get close to whoever the coach is. We all get close to the team, the gym, the surroundings. So yeah, it was all right, but in the end, it was a business decision, and it was the right business decision that we've come to realize after it.
I want to get your thoughts on the fight between Michael and Jordan. In your mind, I know it might be a bit one-sided in favour of your brother, but do you see this as a 50-50 fight?
I see it as a real fight. It's a real pick 'em fight because Jordan Gill has a fantastic boxing brain. It could be a real chess match. I know he's working with Lee Whaley and the team down there, so they would have studied Mako meticulously as well, because I know how meticulous Lee Whaley is in his approach to kind of studying fighters. So the guys in the gym down there would have known Michael inside out, so they will bring another element to Jordan's game, I think. But there is so many different facets to Michael's game that they haven't seen and they can't really predict, and that's what makes it Michael so hard to prepare for. And if I listen correctly to the guys, Lee Whaley was stating how hard it was to prepare for Michael because of the many different elements that he has in his arsenal. So yes, I think for Michael, Jordan moves a lot. It's the boxing style that he has. He's not really an aggressive come forward fighter, but does get into the trenches as well. He tried to fight Kiko at times when he shouldn't have been fighting Kiko, and he felt the power from Kiko very early. And there's a lot of things that you can identify throughout Jordan's game that he's done really well. His performances against Jason Cunningham and stuff like that, where he was really shining on Sky Sports, and then the downfalls against Tinoco with the body shots, there was a weakness there, and again pressure heading in his own city. So there's a lot of different elements in this fight that they can go different ways because of that. I think Jordan's best asset is probably his boxing brain, his boxing ability, his feet work, his movement. That could give Michael some issues and some problems when he moves and he feints and he goes away. But then again, Michael has been used to that all his life at an amateur level, the World Championships, at the Olympic Games. You're not going to get any better movers than you're meeting at the elite level amateurs. So it's there's a lot of different ways that this fight can go, but ultimately I see Michael improving every day. The more I see of him, the more confident I get. The last two spars there were phenomenal. 12 rounds and 10 rounds with fresh fighters, continuously rotating and mixing in with different kind of styles that mimic what Jordan can provide, that mimic what that gym that they like to do, the traits that they also have that the Pedro's identified. So there's a lot of things that I've seen on Michael's game plan improving, and he's a changed man. Like, really is a changed man, both mentally and physically. How he's overcome the setback of Lopez and how he's rebuilt from it internally. It's about showcasing now on December 2nd, and this is what makes the fight so interesting. Is because of where both fighters are coming from and how their mental state is, as well as their physical state. And it's a big one. Jordan's been out of the ring a long time, where Michael's showing our true warrior spirit, is straight back in the ring again. No questions asked. Let's go back into the cauldron that is the SSC Arena in Belfast. And Jordan is not experienced. I don't think something that he's going to experience next Saturday night, and that's another factor. There's so many different factors as we're touching on just now. Just another factor that is going to come into play is the crowd and how he reacts to it, because he is a nice guy, Jordan, and he probably won't like being the bad guy and the villain, which he will be in Belfast.
I will echo that. The atmosphere in Belfast is something I've personally never actually experienced before. The closest probably Josh Warrington at Headingley, but that atmosphere when Grace comes on, it is different. It is obviously Conlan Boxing in association with Matchroom Boxing this time around. Why was the move to Matchroom the right one, as opposed to if there was a deal from Top Rank or anybody else?
They're a global leader, I think, in the promotional game and the boxing game. And when you sit down with Frank and you sit down with Eddie and you see their aspirations and their ideas and what they look to try and do continuously with Matchroom Boxing, it's a no-brainer in the end, and how they build fighters and they turn fighters commercially into even bigger global stars. It's yeah, it's something to kind of behold, and once you're on board that train and you see the process behind it, and the big operation they have internally, you understand why they're so good at what their job. They're so good at their job and so big in the industry, because it's just continuously. They're constantly rotating, different city, different country, different show, and they're producing big, massive events and brilliant fights. But again, they also have big fighters in the featherweight and super featherweight division that can match up perfectly for Michael, and that's kind of what was a big deciding factor for us when we had the two offers on the table between Top Rank and Matchroom. It was, like Jordan, Lee, Josh, super featherweight options. You're looking at loads of big fights, big commercial fights, world title fights, and yeah, it's about getting in that mix and showing you, proving your worth, that you should be there.
I don't know if you're able to say, but would you be able to say how many fights are on that deal at all?
It's a multiple fight deal, and yeah, it's just kind of, for me, the only fight that matters is Jordan Gill. If Michael doesn't beat Jordan Gill, then what's the point of anything else? So it's about beating Jordan Gill and beating Jordan Gill in a fashion that shows that we're back, and it's why I'm so excited and very giddy about the fight, is because of what I've seen in the gym and what I've seen him perform in the gym, and no one has really seen the true value and the true merit of what Michael can produce in the ring. And I think with Pedro now, it's about doing that now and showcasing that and doing it in the ring December 2nd. Then we can look at whatever else is on the table with Frank and Eddie after December.
It's going to be a massive fight, and it's actually also a huge undercard as well. I'm going to touch on Tyrone McKenna versus Lewis Crocker. A fantastic fight. Two of your own fighters headlining this old right. I just want to briefly touch on, as it was meant to originally headline. Don't know how many discussions are going on in the back, but were both fighters aware that this was going on? The potential of your brother Michael headlining?
No, it all happened pretty quickly. We had set out to do a show December 2nd, as in Conlan Boxing, and we had identified with the two guys that this is the fight that we would like to do, and we were in the process of doing it, and we had signed with both lads that we were going to do the fight, and Frank then came with a proposal, and we were looking to do something with Michael, and just kind of let him know that we have a date December 2nd, and he says, "Oh, that's what we're aiming. We're all aiming for the same thing." Then, so it kind of, the marriage together worked that way. But from McKenna and Lewis Crocker, fights like this in this city don't come around too often, and when they do come around, they both unite and divide the city because of what they bring and what they bring to the table. Everyone has an opinion on this fight within the city. People who are Tyrone McKenna's cult following from the early days believe that he drags Lewis late, and Lewis has never been with a fighter like Tyrone, and it kind of is going to be it's a step too far, or a step too early, say, in Lewis's career. But people who follow Lewis Crocker since the amateur days have seen legitimate power, punch power, world-class punch power from the age of 16, and that this is his big shining coming out party moment. And you can make a case for each one. And I was in the barbers today, and the three barbers all had a different opinion on the fight, and they have internal bets on the fight. And one isn't really a big boxing fan, but knows Tyrone McKenna from his podcast, so he's going to the fight because, like, Tyrone is opening a new demographic with his podcast and the madness that goes on there. But the other two would be long-term boxing fans and have been following both careers, and they both had different opinions of how the fight's gone on. And I meet people every day, and they change their opinion going through it, and this is what makes this fight so exciting. It's what makes this, it's again, it's part of this city. The city's a big boxing community, so it's gripped the community by the horns, and it's brought them out in a drove. So Yeah, it's a fascinating fight. It's a fight that I wasn't too keen on making because, as you said, we look after both guys, and you're trying to plan the career trajectory of both guys. But it just came at that moment where it's potential the crossing road, and we're looking at a big thing and big opportunity. And if we were doing the show and we're headlining the show, yes, the boys would have had a headline slot on the card, and it wouldn't have been as big as what it is for now with Michael, and it wouldn't have been as much eyeballs as it is with Matchroom, and the carrot after this, and the opportunity, and the career trajectory after this. Now that Matchroom are involved, and it just adds a massive element to it. If you're not just a big fighter in a small city as Belfast, you become a big fighter now globally and nationally and across the UK and Ireland. And that's what's on the line now for the two boys. It is a real opportunity to put their name in the hat for big fights.
Why was it the perfect time? Because one, Lewis Crocker, he's not as known as Tyrone
Yeah.
McKenna, but obviously he is an up and comer. Tyrone McKenna, as you said, has been there and done it per se. But why was that the perfect time?
It's the perfect time because, number one, both lads asked for the fight individually. It was a fight that had identified that was going to make sense until we had done the IBO World Title fight for Tyrone, and Lewis was also in the mix for the IBO World Title fight, and we were kind of going to go, right, if Tyrone wins, then it'll go Lewis, and we keep the fights internally, and we build it like that. And that's just hard on Marnie. And once the two lads heard names mentioned together, they had a strong indication that they just wanted to fight each other next, and that was kind of the big play. Belfast was ideal. We had booked in advance, December 2nd, to do a big fight in Belfast. We were looking at Pody, we were looking at Tyrone, we were looking at different fighters, and Tyrone and Lewis was the perfect matchup, and a fight that really, once we announced it, we seen the replies from the public, and you just knew, right, this fight makes a lot of sense.
That's perfect. And I know you did speak about Pody McCrory there. I'm gonna touch on him. Obviously, the massive ranking, WA number 3 at super middleweight. Are
Yeah,
there any discussions for a big fight on the horizon for Pody?
there is indeed. We are in negotiations for something early part of next year for Pody, and he started training already, and he knows potentially his Christmas is on the back burner. But yeah, big fight for Pody is what it's in the works, and hopefully we'll be able to have something locked in by the end of the week, and kind of and get going there, because we have one or two opportunities fall by the wayside over the last year, but continuously and going and improving. And Steve Woodall was a big risk, only having one spar and unable to close your hand for about 2 weeks. But he wanted the headline in the Falls Park. He wanted to take that off the bucket list. The fight even before that, the hand was still a problem, but he knew he was going to be on BT Sport, as it was at the time, like TNT Sport, and he was going to be on a massive show in terms of Michael and Lopez. And we also had opportunities to fight Dave Morrell, which fell through at the last second. We had a final eliminator fall through. We were in negotiations to do Berlanga and Madison Square Garden at one stage, and we just missed out on that. So, yeah, these opportunities have came, but I've always said, and Paul is the same thing. What's meant for you won't pass for you, and I truly believe this is an opportunity of a lifetime for Pody if it comes through now by the end of the week, and he'll grab it with both hands. And it is the Cinderella story, if you really want to call it that, but it's also a testament to him and his hard work that he's put on behind the scenes. Because, as I've said many times to yourself, Archie, that he is someone that young fighters or older fighters who don't have the big promotional backing or big Olympic backing or big international pedigree as an amateur, grinding on the small hold scene, paying for his own fights, having to prove his worth, and just constantly continuing to grow and build. Like, he has really kind of put down a stable, like a proper opportunity for others to follow, and that's kind of what he has shown here and on the local scene.
We do really hope he gets that big fight, and we hope it comes off as well, because it will be something as well. one of the next person I'm going to talk about, I actually believe he's one of the most underrated prospects in probably the whole of world boxing. Kurt Walker. I know he's back on Thursday.
Yeah.
Um, he's fighting, I believe in Ireland. Is that correct?
No, I was up in Glasgow on an Ian Wilson St Andrews show. So yeah, it's just about keeping busy. Again, when we were looking at the initial date of December 2nd. It was going to be a co-promotion like we always do with ESPN. And, we were looking at Kurt doing a first title fight, WBO European potentially, or one or two others. Um, and that's kind of just put it on the back burner now to the early part of next year. So we were in talks, maybe going to Madison Square Garden in February. We were looking to do something here potentially as a title fight. So it's just about sitting down with Top Rank after this one and figuring out what the next, the next move is a big move for Kurt, whether it be locally, his first title fight, or going over to the States and having a big fight, which we spoke about briefly with Conor Moretti. So yeah, he's very, very talented. And again, people won't see the best of Kurt till he fights better fighters. And that's what I've seen in the gym. Very impressive in the sparring in this camp, and seeing a different fight of him, a different approach. Having Michael away from him, he's having to stand on his own 2 feet, and him and H now are working together continuously. And I've really seen like a new side. They're building on the strength a bit more. They're trying to sit down on the shots a bit more, and it is a hard transition coming from elite level amateur. Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, World Championships, European Championships, and that transition over sometimes takes a bit more time than others who don't have that amateur pedigree as that standard. So, yeah, we're very excited about the early part of next year for Kurt. There's a big fight around the corner, and he has been asking for it, and it's just been a bit of a waiting process and learning process to get to this point.
I think where yourselves and Top Rank match him so hard, and it is just the boxing skills. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. And every time I
Yeah,
speak to Kurt as well, he's sort of like, why are you matching me so hard? But he does know. He doesn't know why it's happening. But I do think genuinely, in my opinion, he's one of the most underrated prospects probably in the world of boxing. Not a lot of people speak about him, but
yeah.
he is, and he is up there.
But like it's so much show. We believe in so much show that like I had messaged Leighton and asked Leighton about when Leon McGregor pulled or I got that injury against Isaac Lowe. I'd said Kurt Walker will fit him. Would there be any opportunity to do that? And it didn't seem to be something that they would like. So again, like that would have been the perfect fight for Kurt. Finished the year like Isaac Lowe, he would have took it at a heartbeat. So. And that's the kind of fighters he wants to jump in with at the start of next year. That Isaac Lowe, who's been at a high level and is a very, very good fighter. Isaac, I've seen him up close and personal. Like a performance one time in Vegas on a Fury undercard, I thought he was fantastic. And it's just about getting that next big break. Kurt, as you said, we have matched him hard against hardened, seasoned veteran journeymen, if that's what you want to call them. But they're like that durable, hard nosed, no nonsense, and we matched him with a Brazilian. I forget the name of the Brazilian, but he was 4-1 at the time, heavy handed, and it was an 8-rounder. And I remember looking at Kurt after 6, and he looked at me saying, "Why the fuck have you got me this guy?" It was hard. And he got out of the ring. And he says, "I've learned more in that fight than I've learned in." All my years together as a pro, and that's kind of what you need from them kind of fights. Every fight takes something out of it and move forward just a little bit more and constantly improve, whether it be 1% or 10%. That's at least you're moving forward.
We're looking forward to the progression of Kurt and even myself. I'll touch on someone as well who actually had a massive win. I seem like it's been sort of forgotten about, but a win against Sam Mason, Kiren Molloy.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about him as well. How is he and how is his career progression? When will we see him back out?
Yeah, we're hoping for the one more before the end of the year. Where we're looking to do something potentially in Galway, and it was just falling a bit too short and too tight. Was working with Jay Byrne on that, and he was trying to put a show on down there, and it didn't happen in the right time. But we got him out to Boston, which we've identified pretty early that Kiren on the east coast of America could potentially be a big star, and we'd say the Top Rank about that. And he is due his US debut early part of next year. Also, a few names have been floating about to kind of step up to the next level. And again, Kiren and the team are ready to bite their hand off for it. Very, very eager, very, very hungry, very willing to prove, willing to test himself, wanting to learn, wanting to adapt, wanting to, is like in terms of mindset. I've not met much fighters with the same kind of mindset as Kiren Molloy, constantly improving in the gym, but also in the ring. And the win over Samuel Mason was phenomenal. If you know the previous fights in terms of Dalton Smith and Paddy Donovan and how the fights had played out and how the fights had finished, no one had done what Kiren had done. Fantastic fighter. Harry moves like his ring generalship. Just small wee movements with the feet you don't see in terms of unless you're up close and personal and you're actually slowing things down and just kind of really looking at the feet. It's world class. His feet position, his ring generalship. Harry corners opponents. Harry controls the ring. It's something I think that has not really been touched on, but it's stood by him from his amateur days. He was a world level amateur. I think I'd said previously about him. I remember when out in 2017 when Michael were in LA and there was another white Irish kid and it was Kiren Molloy and he was only like 17 and he was sparring world class fighters around Freddie Roach's gym, you know, Manny Robles' gym, loads of different gyms around, and he's done his homework and he knows where he wants to be. So it's just about delivering. Again, still very, very young, step phase process, and it's just about picking the right fights and at the right time. Next year will be a big year for Kiren.
Archie Slaymaker, international boxing news for part 2 with Jamie Conlan, as my Zoom just didn't work at the end there. But we'll start off where we left off, and we'll speak about Alex Dilmaghani, a new signing along with Giorgia O'Connor, but we'll speak about her after. What's next for Alex coming in 2024 or the back part of this year?
With Alex, we had 2 fights fall through. He had picked up a nick on his nose. He was due to fight in France against Dilmaghani, I think his name was. Gary Collier beat the guy in 1 round, but we were going to France to take that fight, and then he picked up a bit of a nick. And then one fight fell through after another. Tried to do a fight with Selva Barrett, and it just wasn't the right time. Again, he'd picked up a hand injury and a wee nick on his nose, and just kind of a few things that fell through. But we've been speaking with Wasserman about a big fight early part of next year, and Alex is like a dog chasing the bone now. He sees it, he smells blood, he wants a big fight, he wants a big name, he wants someone to prove himself with, and that's kind of what he's going to get. And you know, he's working well down with William Batten now down south, and he's learning still every day. And you know, he's an encyclopedia of knowledge. I love picking his brain on different things and speaking to him about different fights and different fighters. And very, very, very good, very, very, very good fighter that hasn't had the opportunity in a long while since the Channel 5 days to really show his true worth and true value. And hopefully next year we get that opportunity to do so. You know, it's about big fights and quantity. He needs quantity as well as quality. Alex, the kind of fighter that if we're going to do a 6 round or 8 round keep busy fight, he's not going to get up for it. And I know him, that he's just kind of going on to perform. So we identified that, and he just says he wants the big fight. So as I said, speaking of a fight with Wasserman hopefully, and speaking 1 or 2 fights as well outside of that, and seeing if something can be done February, March time next year.
Well, look forward to that. Obviously, it's been quite a while since we've seen Alex back in the ring with the injuries. I know you briefly touched on the Zelfa Barrett fight. Was that ever an option for November the 25th at all?
He obviously had accepted before, but when he was at Leeton, and then he got pneumonia and couldn't, or he got pneumonia and just couldn't get over it. So again, it came around the same time when he had picked up a slight nick on his nose and he had slight injury in his hand, and it was just a lot of different if, buts, and maybes. And I spoke to Tom Dallas about it, and Matchroom are pretty they wanted to do it for Katie Taylor's undercard, and it just didn't suit Alex or the team. And it's something probably that can be looked at again next year if the opportunity arises.
That'll be a big fight if it does come off, and we hope to see Alex back in the ring the early part of next year. The other new signing, or not really new signing as such, was Giorgia O'Connor. Bit of a frustrating period for her with the fallouts of the cards and everything that has happened. But very excited to see Giorgia back and what you expect from her in the future.
I just need to see activity. I think that's what she needs. I think that's what her dad needs. I think that's what everyone needs, is just to see her back in the ring. Even for her own mental state, she just needs to be back in the ring. She's had a lot of setbacks this year, and it's a cursed year, as she said on the phone last week. And it's very, very hard. I was in her position because I've had a few fights when I was boxing, fought through it, but I don't think I had it the way she's had it. They're all in the one year in the close vicinity, and the different elements. It's all been out of her control. And again, we're hopeful to get something before the end of the year. We just have to do a bit of an issue, but it's nothing serious, and hopefully we can get it over and out of the way and get her out before the end of the year, because she does need to get this year behind her and really get cracking on next year. Talent to burn, both in and out of the ring. The girl is like a phenomenal singer. She's wanting to sing herself to the ring. She's wanted to walk herself out. She's wanted to do different things like that. And I think she can really be a superstar and add into that Northeast revival that is going on up there. And she can definitely be a part of it, and not just be a part of it, but really steal a light or be the light of up there. So, but firstly, she just needs back in the ring. She just needs to get out there.
I know I've got to touch on it. You said singing herself to the ring. Is that something that she's personally requested?
She's requested more than once. Yeah, she wants to do it. She sent me. At start, I didn't believe her, and then she was showing me the videos of her singing. And I just, okay, right. Would you really want to do it before? Yeah, I want to do it. She plays guitar. She's multi-talented. But mainly what I focus on is just want to get back in the ring. They're lovely family, very well-regarded boxing family up northeast, and just all she needs is opportunities. If she gets the opportunities and gets consistency in her life and consistency and balance into her boxing, the world is her oyster.
It will be massive. Even if that does happen, I expect you to be holding the microphone for herself on the way to the ring. But it will be massive to see her back. She has obviously bags of talent. I think everybody sees that, and we hope to see her back early in the ring in 2024. My last question for yourself is obviously a huge rematch going on Saturday in Dublin. Kate Taylor versus Chantelle Cameron 2. I just want to pick your brains a little bit on a prediction, if that's all okay.
Yeah, I thought the first fight was always going to be tough for Katie, given the size and the magnitude of the occasion, and the pressure that was on her shoulders coming back to Dublin for the first time, and how much she carries that flag throughout the amateur career to the pro career, and how good of a fighter Chantelle is and how big of a fighter Chantelle is. I thought it was going to be tough. However, I think the closer it gets to, I'm fancying Katie more and more every day. I think that the pressure is off. I think that worry of losing is off. I think she can be free in her own ability and be free and just go out there and be relentless. I don't think, I also then see the counter argument to that Chantelle, whether she believed it or not, the first time she now knows how to beat Katie, and she'll go out with more confidence and more vigor and more aggression. But I think Katie had a terrible start last time. Her legs didn't seem to be underneath her after 2 rounds. It seemed like they were gone, and she was kind of chasing and fighting on fumes. So, but I get people don't understand the magnitude and the pressure that comes with Katie Taylor. She's an icon, but she transcends the sport here in Ireland. She transcends the sport, I think, across the world. She is women's boxing, and she's carried that flag ever since 2012. So I think losing probably, it's maybe sounds stupid, but it's probably the best thing could have happened to her, because now the pressure is off and she can be herself and she can be free and she can focus on just boxing. It's a very tough ask. Chantelle is unbelievable, and like, you could have went another way. To come back to Dublin, she could have had numerous different easier fights, but she's chosen Chantelle and chosen at a higher weight. She's asked for all the problems that you wouldn't have asked for, but she's asked for them for a reason. So there must be some internal confidence there within the camp that is making me a bit more confident. And as an Irishman, it's blasphemy to go against Katie Taylor, and
I'll never go against Katie Taylor, regardless of how much she's up against it. But I genuinely believe the pressure is off, and I genuinely believe that she can fight freely and really work on her game plan. Whereas last time, I think there was a lot of pressure, which kind of clogged things, or she just didn't look herself.
I know I did say that was my last question. I'm going to pick your brains on one more that is actually on the December the 2nd card. Kevin Agyarko,
Okay.
Troy Williamson. Obviously, there was a lot back and forth with Kevin Agyarko maybe not wanting to accept the fight, but it's on December the 2nd. I just want to get your thoughts on that one as well, if that's all okay.
I don't know the real internal story, but from the outside, like yourself, it did look, it looked like he was forced into taking the fight, and looked like Troy was kind of, or he was backed into the corner. He had to take it, and maybe ego and all these different things in play. But if I look at the two fighters, I immediately go with Agyarko. I think he's got the talent. I think he's got the speed. I think he's got the explosiveness. I think he's got the youth on his side, the freshness on his side, the footwork that's needed to beat Troy. Troy is relentless. He is an out-and-out warrior. He's going to be there from the first minute to the last minute. He's going to be the same locomotive train coming at you. And that is what he has to do in this fight. But I think this could potentially be a shining moment for Kevin. Finally getting the opportunity. I know he's been calling for Matchroom for years to come to Belfast, but he hasn't been big enough to kind of carry the weight of the show. But he's finally getting the opportunity now because Michael is there. But he's getting an opportunity at the right time, I believe, in the right fight, and a fight that can, as you said, the build up has been phenomenal. It was a fight that we all didn't know that we needed. It came from nowhere with the rumors of fights being turned down, with multiple fights being turned down, with promotional situation on the line, and all the kind of backstory there. It adds for great intrigue, and next week is going to be phenomenal because Troy comes to talk. He talks the talk and walks the walk, and Kevin also likes to talk. So it's going to be, the build up for that alone is going to be phenomenal. And I think you touched on at the very start. Each of these fights that we have on the card could all be main events in their own right. There is a backstory to each one. There is different ways that the fights can play out. There is fantastic characters in terms of McKenna, the eccentricness, Troy, that hardened warrior, seasoned operator, Kevin, the flash young fighter coming through, the next big thing, Macomb, the rebuild from Gavin Gwynn, and then him and Sam Maxwell lived together for 2-3 years. They cooked together, they fought together, they sparred together, they know each other's inside out. I would assume they know which kind of boxers both of them are wearing. So it's got everything. December 2nd really has everything, and I think, I'm really excited. From a boxing point of view, I'm really excited for it.
Perfect. Jamie, that was my last question. Really appreciate you talking to International Boxing News.
Cheers, Archie. You're the man in the know.